Osio, I've had a few requests to make some videos on how I process my meat, and this is an ancient technique that you can do at home, especially in the times we're living in. This is a critical way to preserve your meat that's true and tried over the centuries since the beginning of time, and I wanted to take some time to show you that today, so stay with me.
What you are looking at here is a photo from a book called Native American Gardening by Gilbert L. Wilson, and it is an excerpt of Buffalo Bird woman Hidatsa and her experience on how the Hidatsa survived and gardened. And this is a drying stage, and what you see is Buffalo Bird woman slicing the squash, and you see a drying stage with a man sitting below, and above his head are sliced squashes. Alright, and here is a diagram of a Arikara drying stage. And when these were originally designed, they were designed in such a manner that multiple people, specifically the women, would climb the ladder there to the rear left post, and they would dry corn, beans, squash, and other goods on top of these stages. And below you see a threshing room, and which was covered in deer or bison hides.
All right, so first I'd like to go through what it is, the type of structure that you can proliferate at home yourself out of natural materials right from Mother Nature. So these are eastern poplar, tulip poplar, saplings that grow very tight in clusters. They tend to be very straight. And you want to go out and find 4 posts. And those posts can be as big as the diameter of a few inches, 2 to 3 inches, all the way up to 10 inches if you want to build something really, really heavy duty. I built this lightweight so I can take it with me wherever I go. So get 4 posts and look for posts, trees that is, that have a fork. And make sure you give yourself plenty of length. If you don't have a way to measure, you can measure your height and kind of go up. You're going to want to bury that. Where I am, the ground's very hard. They're only about 1 foot into the ground. Where you are, maybe you want to go 2 or 3 feet. So just use your judgment on that. I went ahead and burned each post on the bottom right in the fire. Just charred it rather, to make it bug resistant and rot resistant. And then you want to get some straight saplings for your upright posts, your purlins. And your purlins are going to be running across and give support for smaller sections of straight sections. And the straight sections is what you're going to hang your meat on. You can see here the braces, the lateral braces that are running. This structure is 100% tough. The wind can blow, and it blows here tremendously, and the structure does really well and upholds well to the wind. So I'm going to take you in a little closer, and I'm going to show you what we're dealing with as far as the actual method to hang the meat. In here hanging, you can see the short sections, and that meat is simply, as soon as it's jerked, it's hung fresh out to dry. This has been out here now for about a few hours, and it's already taking on a skin. Ideally, if you live in a very moist, humid environment, it'd be ideal to set this meat out in the evening. Let it set. Once the sun is set, the flies are down. If you let it sit overnight, it'll form a good hard skin and a protective layer. So I'd like to show you a good method that I utilize to prevent the wind from pushing your poles. If you just hang your meat up here on your meat poles, the wind can easily push it. So I take a good solid piece like this, and I actually will take it, this is the cross pole. It's running across, that's supporting these. Now this cross pole is fastened. The meat poles are not. The only way the meat poles fasten is simply by taking a long piece of meat and wrapping it over and over. So you're basically creating a lock. And once that dries onto that wood and creates a bond, a temporary bond, until you remove it. All right, without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and present to you the method that I know on how to jerk this meat to prevent flies from blowing and laying their maggots on there. Now flies will land on this meat, and they do, but they actually help break down the meat. Never gotten sick from this. I eat this dry jerky just like this all the time. Never gotten sick. The flies simply can't blow on it if you cut it and you jerk it down to a 1/4 inch thick. So what you're going to want to do is go ahead and get you a slab of meat. Now this meat here is cut about 5 inches wide and about 5 by 4 or so. And I'm going to show you the method that you can utilize to preserve this in a grid down scenario, in a day-to-day existence. This is a true and tried method. So you're going to want to go ahead and get you a knife. This is just simply a fillet knife, and I use this because it's flexible. This is their Ultra Flex model by Rapella. Now this meat has what they call sinew. This is actually part of the back strap, and there's some that is on the bottom. Look for the thickest amount of sinew, which is going to be here. So this is a thicker side, this is a thinner side. I'm going to lay that down on my board, and you can jerk out a big piece like this. I recommend starting smaller. If you start smaller, you might want to go 2 inches by a bigger piece. So we're going to go ahead and just show you, for sake to help you out here at home that haven't done this before. Cut this in half, and you're going to take that piece of meat that you just worked in half, and you can see I'm sitting this right outside on the stump. I'm not worried about catching something or parasites or anything like that. The sun is a natural disinfectant, and it has been disinfecting meat and other things since the beginning of time. The Creator gave it to us to help us. It gives us its medicine. So I'm going to take that meat now. Again, I told you I was going to work on this side, but because I've cut this in half now, I'm going to have to utilize this side, and that's fine. And I'm going to simply utilize that because it's wider. I'm going to take my knife. I'm going to cut down right till I get to close to the bottom there, about a 1/4 inch. Remember, we want to go a 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch thick or less. If you go more, the flies will blow. And when I say blow, they'll actually lay maggots on your meat and destroy it. If it's a 1/4 inch or thinner, they cannot blow. I cannot give you an explanation as to why that is. That's just how the Creator made them. So now I've split that meat. You can see we've cut right down the middle. Now I'm going to lay it out in front of me. I'm going to kind of change my setup a little bit here. Okay, and I'm going to take that knife, and I'm going to be eyeballing here on each side. So I'm going to bring it forward, leaving myself about a 1/4 inch. And I'm going to look the other side and come forward a 1/4 inch, and I'm going to just unroll that meat. I'm going to just keep on doing that. Come right to the edge, flip it over. And if you're starting to run out of room, that's okay. Just pick it up, bring it back, start again. Leave myself about a 1/4 inch. And you can also press that knife and flip it out. Bring it out and flip. Okay, and if you end up getting a little bit too thick on the back side, that's all right. Come to the back side, flip it over. Take that knife and just work it out and flip it over, just like that. A little bit thick here. Flip it over. Okay? Now we're gonna trade sides. And do practice knife safety. Always cut away from yourself. Don't cut towards yourself. Cuts hurt, and when you're bleeding, it's going to stop you from having to stop the process of you being able to process this jerky. And
And depending on your situation, you may need to get that done very quickly. So it's better to go slow, take your time, be safe, and prevent an injury than get in a hurry and hurt yourself and prolong everything. It's good to do it right the first time. Having a beautiful day here. The sun is shining. The robins are singing. The flowers are coming up. Absolutely beautiful day. Okay. So I'm just gonna pull over my backside and make sure I'm not a quarter. So right here, I'm a little bit thick. That's not a problem. You can just lay that down, kick that out, and flip it just like that. Right here is pretty thick. So another good thing to know: you can just take your knife, open it up, and pull it. And I'll come on the backside. See, it's pretty thick there. On where it comes to the point, you can also come right down in the center and open up that point a little bit. But I'm going to go ahead and flip that meat out. Okay, so what you're left with is a long piece of meat. See that? And we'll actually show you how to hang that up.
I went ahead and worked that meat up. I wanted to show you how we're going to go ahead and proceed to hang that. So on the meat, I look where the sinew was, and I'm going to keep that down. It seems to dry better when I keep the sinew down. I'm going to come up here to my pole. I'm just going to simply set that on there just like that. Now if you notice any sections that are starting to get kind of pulley or getting kind of look like they're weak, like they might fall, go ahead and just break that and readjust your piece. I try to keep them even. I keep my meat spaced out a little bit. Went ahead and worked the other side. So here's a good example of it got too thin, and that's all right. I go ahead and pull that apart. And I'll hang the meat right up. Again, just keeping enough space in between where the meat is not touching. You can get quite a bit of meat up this way. There's a little section there, kind of spread it out with the hand. And then one more small piece, go ahead and stick that up there. And it's as easy as that.
Right, and here's a prime example of some of the foods that you can dry yourself at home. This is the jerky. Once it's dry, these are just been broken up pieces. And you can actually take this jerky, and if you're in a primitive situation, you can put it right on the stone and take another stone and pound it up until it becomes a fluff, or shredded, and add that right to a stew, right into the water, and let that boil up. And the meat will never come back to fully what it was when you cut it off the animal, but it will rehydrate to where you can put it in stews and soups and have nice juicy meat. These are choke cherries. You can take choke cherries and collect those, or other kind of berries, and pound those on mortar and pestle stone, and then make patties out of them. And this has all been sun dried, sun baked, and we eat this stuff on a regular basis. These are primitive foods that are indigenous to the human diet. These are apples from wild apple tree, and these are squash. Dried squash. And the nice thing about all these foods, they're very lightweight. Dehydration is the most primitive ancient method, yet the most best method, because it dries the food thoroughly, makes it lightweight, requires minimal setup, and the most importantly, it actually captures the taste and all the nutrients without losing anything. And that's absolutely critical in any type of situation that you're in. So I just wanted to share this with you and show you that any type of food that you have, even watermelon, could be dehydrated given enough time in the correct environment. You don't have to have electricity. You don't have to buy the fancy dehydrators. Use the Creator's natural gifts that He gives to you, that He wants you to use to better utilize the tools there that He equipped you with to help you survive and thrive.
Thank you for tuning in today. Hopefully I've taught you a time-proven method on how you can preserve your own meat at home in any type of scenario, but especially for the times you're living in. I think this is crucial that you know how to do this. Self-sufficient skills are something that the Creator gave to us after we left the Garden of Eden. And through the ways of the world and through the ways of the evil one, He stripped us of these ways of knowing how to provide for ourselves with that ancient knowledge. And when we go back to our ancient roots and we can connect again to the Creator and to Mother Nature, to Mother Earth, who we are formed from, we begin to understand the ancient ways that were given to us. And we begin to walk the narrow path that the Creator laid out for us. So thank you very much for tuning in today. I hope you have a wonderful day. Donada Gohai. Till we meet again.